So Jim, you're running for re-election. Why would you like to serve on the board again?
First and foremost, I think I was a positive voice of change for the first 3 years. I think the first term has been marked by real progress between the Sherwood Middle School, an overall attention to the details of how you run a community successfully. But more importantly, I think we took several steps for ensuring the long-term viability, sustainability, whatever term you want to use, of our community. And I want to be part of a second term to see some of those come to fruition.
What do you think you bring to the board that your opponent doesn't?
Well, I think there's an issue of rhetoric versus actual work and follow-through. I think it's very easy to talk about a variety of issues facing a community and then not do the actual work involved with it. We face a variety of challenges in Shrewsbury, just like every city and town does. I think within my first 3 years, I demonstrated an ability to identify what were critical issues ahead of us, and then work with the manager and work with my colleagues to ensure that if we weren't in a position to complete a plan, at least initiated that plan. And I'll give you an example on that. We saw with the pending closure of the U.S. Postal Facility and the Glavin Center, the potential onslaught of several hundred homes to our community. And with homes come a variety of cost factors, most importantly, children. Our school system simply can't absorb the number of children that would come out of a few hundred homes. So the board coordinated an effort with the planning board, and we worked directly with them, Mo DiPaolo from the board and myself, developed a new underlying limited commercial zone for the Glavin portion, the Glavin proper, if you will, where their large building is, and the Postal Service, and took that to town meeting, and that was unanimously approved. In terms of the balance of the Glavin property, what is the soccer fields today and the agricultural land across the street, we upzone that to protect ourselves and limit the number of houses if that ever went to market. More importantly, more recently I worked with Representative Beaton and House Counsel to draft a home rule petition that will go to our annual town meeting, which would have the town of Shrewsbury receive those two parcels, the agricultural parcel and the recreation parcel. After all, the Commonwealth hasn't sunk any money into those two parcels. Shrewsbury Youth Soccer sunk over $500,000 into that facility to make it available to the kids of our town. And I think we have, in the flip side, greatly enhanced the value of the Commonwealth's property at the Glavin Center by virtue of changing that underlying residential to limited commercial zoning for the larger building. So I'm hoping town meeting will approve that, we'll get it into the legislative process, and hopefully receive it back favorably.
If elected, what would you hope to accomplish on the next term?
Well, I think the first thing off the bat is to ensure we finish up this fiscal year in a strong position, take those steps that we need to take to ensure that not only 14 is strong, but hereafter. Well, I think one of the interesting things that separates Shrewsbury from some other towns is this town has a history of its board and its finance committee and its managers always looking out, not just for the next press clip, but for the next fiscal year, the next 3 to 5 fiscal years. I think that's what separates us in many regards. I think you can look at this board as being one that saw the wisdom of dealing with the post-retirement health care cost. We initiated that at a previous town meeting, put some money into it at a previous town meeting, and this year this board is has recommended to the Finance Committee that we place approximately $190,000 into it. Now that will allow some down payment on the future. Now what that really does is that will reset the stage for an element of the retirement obligation as well as your future costs for the post-retirement. It gets very boring, but I would argue those are important, boring things to ensure that future generations of residents of Shrewsbury aren't set up to fail. We're on target to fully fund our pension liability by 2022, I believe it is. Again, not sexy, but part of taking care of business and making sure we focus on the critical elements, the basic blocking and tackling of municipal government, as well as seeing through the Glavin Postal Service facility reuse. Either which way, say the Postal Service closes, we have already been working with Congressman McGovern to ensure that the Postal Service doesn't sit on it in case it closes. Right now they don't pay taxes, but at least they pay water and sewer and power. If they were ever to mothball that for a while, that would impact all 3 of those revenue sources. Not good for the town. Much better that if it has to close, that it get flipped right to the private sector. We get it on the tax roll as new growth and hopefully see a thriving business locate at the facility.
And what qualities or experience do you have that you think would make you a good candidate for the Board of Selectmen?
Well, I think 3 years of working in a cooperative fashion is important. I think you can disagree without becoming disagreeable. I think my previous experience as a city councilor in Marlborough just adds more understanding to it. I think what I do for a day job is critically important, where I work within the state and local permitting structure for projects. Several times I've talked to Dan about how we could streamline or make ours even more professional and attractive. It's recognized that if you come to Shrewsbury with a project, you'll get a confidential meeting with the manager and his professional staff and Selco to work through the details. And that's critically important. I think it's also important, however, that what I also do during the day job is try to move projects ahead in Massachusetts, which is not necessarily an easy jurisdiction to work in. So I think I bring the business side of it as well as a well-founded amount of experience on the public side. I think it's a good blend of public and private experience that brings it to the board. I understand that people with businesses in town don't get up every day thinking of the town first, or they shouldn't have to. And I think that's a good quality of our town, that we attempt to take the approach, I won't say laissez-faire, but we take the approach that people should be able to do what they need to do, run their businesses the way they need to run them, and that the town should be supportive of them and not seek to overregulate them.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, thank you very much for the interview. I look forward to it. People can go to electjimkane.com or just give me a call at home, 842-2894, and discuss any issues that they might be interested in.